I had been reborn. Reborn 1 month before the apocalypse. In my previous life, I'd foolishly trusted Ethan's lies, invited wolves into my home, and ultimately got pushed off a building by that scumbag. This time, I vowed to ignore him completely, stockpile enough supplies, and ride out the apocalypse safely with the Johnson family. Blinking under the dim bedroom light, I recognized the familiar ceiling pattern. My phone vibrated on the pillow, another message from Ethan. Without reading it, I blocked all his contacts with practiced efficiency. The screen displayed today's date, June 30th, 2188. Memories flooded back. Last timeline. Lucy had shown up at my door with Ethan when the outbreak began. I'd taken them in, unaware they'd already been sleeping together. 3 mouths quickly devoured our unprepared pantry. Their chaotic escape from downtown had drawn hordes of infected to our neighborhood. Trapped and starving, they'd plotted to sacrifice me as zombie bait. I shuddered recalling their final betrayal. Lucy had simpered against Ethan's shoulder, using that sickly, sweet voice, "Emily, Ethan was always my boyfriend. I let him date you out of pity. Shouldn't you repay our kindness now?" When I spat in her face, Ethan glared murderously. "I only tolerated you because Lucy likes men who attract other women." The sheer absurdity almost made me laugh. His girlfriend wanted proof of his desirability. So he cheated? With me? Before I could retort, Lucy hissed impatiently. That's when his hands shoved me backward into freefall. Now, with 30 days until hell broke loose, survival preparations were critical. But my bank account mocked me, $500. Desperate, I binge-read 5 apocalyptic novels overnight. By dawn, I'd formulated a plan. That was the madness of reckless borrowing. I steeled myself and sold the Johnson family's house back in our hometown. My folks had been peacefully sunbathing in their courtyard when strangers suddenly appeared at their gate with suitcases. Dad scrambled from his lawn chair. "What's going on here?" The lead man sighed. The owner defaulted on massive loans. Sold the property to cover debts. He patted Dad's shoulder. "You're still young enough to rebuild. Teach your kids some financial responsibility." "Yeah?" My parents nearly fainted. They called immediately, demanding answers, knowing they wouldn't believe the truth. I said, "Just come stay with me temporarily. I'm going through something." After hanging up, I maxed out every credit line available until my account showed $2 million. Satisfied, I was gaming when an unknown number flashed on my screen. "Emily, why'd you block me everywhere?" Ethan's voice grated through the phone. "We're done," I snapped, hanging up and blocking both his number and Lucy's. The doorbell rang as I made tea. There stood my parents with luggage. They'd caught the first flight after losing their home. Dad brandished his cane angrily while Mom pleaded, "Let her explain first." "Look." I shoved my phone at them. $2 million cash. I presented my apocalypse prep list. "The world's ending soon. We need supplies now." Dad dialed the psychiatric hospital. "Our only child's gone mad." I grabbed his phone. "Check this news report, new virus causing rapid paralysis." The signs were there all along. If you still don't believe me, just wait until this afternoon when it snows. Emily Johnson, insisted Dad, a member of the Johnson family, pulled up the weather forecast showing July 1st, sunny. July 2nd, sunny. July 3rd, sunny. Under my skeptical gaze, he declared with unwavering certainty, "It's July. Southern July. Snow is impossible." Mom, also from the Johnson family, sighed at my pleading expression. "Let's trust her this once. If there's no hail by afternoon, we'll take her to the hospital together." I remembered vividly, in my previous life, I'd just finished laundry when snowflakes began swirling outside. That blizzard lasted 3 full days. July was supposed to be harvest season, but the freak storm froze nearly all crops mid-growth, triggering sudden food shortages that dominated trending lists for days. At 2 p.m., the sky darkened abruptly. Pedestrians shouted as cotton-like snowflakes cascaded down. "It's snowing. It's really snowing." I yelled, racing to the window. Mom drew back the curtains, revealing a whiteout. Dad paled, likely thinking of our wheat fields. Believe me now? I gestured at the winter wonderland. Ultimately, my parents trusted me. We ordered 2 industrial freezers online for food storage. Anticipating mid-apocalypse power outages, we added 10 solar panels and 50 power banks, paying extra for same-day delivery. We waited 3 days for roads to thaw before venturing out. The next morning, Dad and I braved 2 degrees Celsius July frost in a rented van to the wholesale market. We loaded 200 pounds of pork. The aproned butcher raised an eyebrow. What's with the bulk order? Recalling apocalypse rule number 1, never trust anyone, I lied smoothly. I manage school cafeterias. Heard your market offers quality ingredients at fair prices. Her eyes lit up. School contracts? I'll give you a discount for repeat business. I accepted graciously while warning casually, grain prices might spike soon. Stock up. We repeated this tactic, 100 pounds beef, 100 pounds lamb, 50 fish, assorted vegetables, 200 pounds rice, until the van groaned. Back home, I panic-ordered 50 cases of instant noodles, 30 chip cartons, 30 military ration boxes, chocolates, sodas, and 100 water jugs. At dinner, Mom, always finding silver linings, noted, your animal husbandry degree could prove useful. Soon we were discussing backyard chickens and balcony hydroponics. By dawn, we split tasks. They sourced soil and seeds while I bought 20 chicks and ducklings at the market. The Johnson family survival plan had begun. They headed to the farmer's market to buy various vegetable seeds, then purchased cooking oils and assorted condiment bottles. Next, they stocked up on hot pot bases and ingredients at the supermarket. By the time we returned home, darkness had fallen and Mrs. Johnson hurriedly prepared dinner. Our family shared a warm meal together. After dinner, we gathered on the couch watching news updates about the escalating apocalyptic developments. Being financially limited, I rented in a remote suburban complex abandoned midway by developers. The sparse population here explained how I'd survived in this very neighborhood during my previous life until Ethan and Lucy pushed me from that rooftop. The clatter of Mom cooking woke me at dawn, my throat sore with impending cold symptoms. This reminded us to stockpile medications. Our family split up to acquire antibiotics, antivirals, and cough suppressants from different pharmacies. Anticipating drastic temperature shifts, we procured 10 quilts and winter coats per person. Though our secluded location offered some security, I'd read enough apocalyptic fiction to know better than lower our guard. Dad installed bulletproof doors and concrete reinforcements while I soundproofed our living areas with acoustic panels. 10 drones were ordered online for reconnaissance. Mom prepared for confinement boredom with 200 novels, 50 magazines, and board games. As D-Day approached, we discreetly warned relatives about virus outbreaks and urged stockpiling. Noon alarms blared as sudden darkness swallowed the sunny sky. Lightning fractured the horizon while Mom drew the curtains. That evening during our usual news vigil, the broadcast switched to an emergency press conference. A lab-coated expert addressed the nation. We face an unprecedented DNA virus with rapid mutation capacity. Current symptoms include motor paralysis and cognitive deterioration, though his voice held resolve. Tears pricked my eyes remembering my previous life's despair, clinging to a crackling radio that promised medical breakthroughs during endless nights. Thanks to our preparations, the initial apocalypse weeks passed manageably. Week 1 saw calm cooperation. Week 2 flooded social media with desperate posts. By week 3, utilities failed. Week 4 brought home invasions and societal collapse. When communications severed completely in week 5, we became an island in the storm. We thought we could keep lying low like this until the apocalypse ended. But that peace was shattered. That afternoon, the Johnson family was playing cards in the living room when my phone buzzed. I immediately checked the security feed showing movement outside. A car had parked across from our apartment building. A group emerged, 2 slender figures leading a pack of burly, Weapon-toting men with sun-baked skin marched toward our building. Mom, Dad, people are coming. We stared at our screens as a horde of shuffling creatures materialized in the distance. Their dragging footsteps and blurred, mangled forms made my throat tighten. The approaching group noticed the threat behind them and broke into a sprint. Dad gasped. Aren't those Ethan and Lucy? Since when do they travel with armed thugs? My fists clenched at the sight of those two familiar, hateful faces. We'd anticipated looters, but never expected these backstabbers to lead the charge. Those two snakes. After getting me killed in our past life, they're back for round two? Honestly, I shouldn't be surprised. This is the same Lucy who once tried passing off her ex as my blind date. They're here to rob us, I warned. Mom panicked. We can't fight them. Don't worry, I said, already formulating a plan. They won't get through that door. The group burst into our building, slamming the entrance shut against the approaching zombies. Instead of ransacking floor by floor, they beelined for our apartment under Lucy's direction. We heard 3 knocks. Then the doorbell. Lucy's saccharine voice oozed through the intercom. Emily? It's Lucy. Those monsters are right behind us. Please let us in. I pressed my ear to the door, remembering how that same fake helplessness had doomed me last time. Not again. When silence followed, a meaty thud shook the door. A man snarled. You lying bitch. Where's the food stash you promised? Through the peephole. I watched him yank Lucy's hair until she crumpled, then kick her ribs. Ethan intervened with oily charm. Easy there, boss. Let me handle this. His finger jammed the doorbell repeatedly as I launched the drone from our balcony. The camera feed showed zombies swarming below, hollow-eyed, limbs missing, rotting flesh hanging in strips. They lurched after the buzzing drone like marionettes with cut strings. My stomach churned as the horde redirected toward the distraction, buying us precious minutes. The drone led them all the way downstairs before I landed it on the front door and started playing music. The zombies began mindlessly slamming against the entrance. The leader of the thugs inside finally snapped. Ethan, get me the chainsaw. They were preparing to break in. Though we'd installed the strongest door available, extreme force could still breach it. Sweat dripped down my neck as my trembling hands struggled to control the drone. My parents from the Johnson family appeared behind me then. Without speaking, they squeezed my shoulders in silent reassurance. Their support steeled my resolve. Below, the horde grew increasingly frenzied around the music-blaring drone. When the door finally gave way, the sheer number of undead made our entire building tremble. The thugs peered down the stairwell and froze. Dozens of bloodshot eyes stared back. Lucy dry heaved at the sight before desperately pounding on my door. Her commotion drew the zombies upward. Cursing, the thugs kicked Lucy twice, snapping her leg before fleeing upstairs. Ethan tried dragging her along but, weakened by hunger, abandoned her to save himself. I watched through security cameras as the swarm descended on Lucy. Her agonized screams pierced the air before sudden silence fell. Peering through the peephole later, I locked eyes with a bloody orb pressed against it, biting my lip hard enough to draw blood. I stayed silent. My observations suggested the zombies were blind but possessed supernatural hearing. While closing my bedroom window later, I saw Ethan plummeting past. His hate-filled glare met mine as he desperately reached for my windowsill. But gravity claimed him mid-gesture. The building echoed with screams all day. That night, Mrs. Johnson served my favorite dishes. But I couldn't eat, no matter how much I'd mentally prepared for this cruel new world. Witnessing actual deaths left me nauseous. When would my turn come? Survival now meant embracing primal rules. We'd barely survived today, what about tomorrow? Next week? The Johnsons noticed my distress. Mom silently filled my bowl with extra helpings of comfort food, her eyes saying what words couldn't. Eat something. It's no use overthinking things all day. Dad Johnson patted my head. We'll always have your back. Tears welled up in my eyes. This timeline differed from my previous life, at least the Johnsons were here with me now. That alone felt like enough. The apocalypse had quietly reached its 1-year mark. The zombie horde upstairs, having camped for months without finding food, had long since moved on. 365 days of constant vigilance. Yet we'd miraculously avoided major disasters. My chicks had matured, providing fresh eggs daily. Scanning our stockpile, I estimated provisions for another year. What if the government still hadn't made contact by next year? The sudden crackle of our dormant radio answered my doubts. My pulse quickened. To all survivors, the broadcast began. We know this year's been hell, but the nightmare's ending. Our antiviral has entered human trials. The tide's turning. I sprinted to my parents' room, shaking awake Mom and Dad Johnson. Dad stumbled up, raccoon-eyed with panic. Emergency? My grinning face confused them. Mom pressed her palm to my forehead. Have you gone fever mad? The apocalypse is almost over, I blurted, yanking her hand down. Their stunned silence broke when I explained the broadcast. We erupted into chaotic celebration. That night, Mom cooked our last frozen fish into creamy chowder, an extravagant hope feast. For 90 straight days, we monitored radio updates like scripture. When my phone suddenly buzzed with a Twitter notification, we knew infrastructure was returning. The top trending tag said it all, #DarkAgeNs, antiviral distribution underway. 2 days later, authorities declared the zombie threat eradicated. Mom flung open windows craving fresh air, only to retch at the rotting stench outside. Masked investigations revealed streets choked with decaying corpses. My dad and I spent the entire day burying the bodies nearby, and the stench finally began to fade. After returning home, I took a shower. When I checked my phone, I saw the government was actively recruiting volunteers to help rebuild our new homeland. Our entire family signed up without hesitation. We firmly believed our homeland would eventually be restored to its former state. In 2190, the apocalypse finally came to an end thanks to everyone's collective efforts. After the apocalypse, countless young people heeded the government's call and dedicated themselves to constructing the new homeland. The following year, through the united efforts of the entire population, the new homeland was successfully established. Life gradually returned to its previous state of peace. As for those who committed atrocities, looting, killing, and wreaking havoc during the apocalypse, each one faced consequences from the authorities. Hearing this news, I smiled. In my past life, after I died, I never learned what ultimately became of those villains. Turns out they met equally grim fates. Justice always prevails, and darkness cannot endure forever. All shadows eventually fade.